Yeah.
Is this yours?
That's and one.
Is this yours?
Yes. I believe so.
It doesn't have your name on
I'm
it.
name might not be on that one.
Is this yours?
This is the one. So, you don't like it? Okay. I'm gonna get things started because I want to kind of get things moving along here. Today I'm going to continue on from last week's demo on how to gap a spark plug to actually changing a spark plug in your engine. So there's a couple special tools you need, and I have two sockets here, and one of them is specific for taking out spark plugs, and it's a little hard to see on the projector, but can anyone tell which one I would use to remove a spark plug? When the vehicle just been looking? The bottom one? Okay, and do we know why? Okay, so like what Chad said, there's a rubber boot in a spark plug socket, and what it does is it cradles that spark plug, so when you remove it, you lessen the chance of cracking that porcelain and actually damaging the spark plug. So what I'm going to do now is I have my handy little engine cutaway, and the first thing I'm going to do is remove the spark plug wire. You can do that really gently so you don't tear that connection between the boot itself and the wire. And then I'm just use my simple ratchet here, spark plug socket. I can take that spark plug out of the motor. So, as we can see by this plug here, it's probably what it's going to replace. That electrode's all gone, full of carbon, and just generally no good. So when you replace a spark plug, you want to set your gap, like we talked about last day. And then when you reinstall a spark plug, there's a couple special things that you need, and I have them here. And one of them is Never Seize. You can see there. And I'll actually pass this around. And what the Never Seize does, you guys can pass that down that way, it's going to coat those threads, and then that way when you reinstall, you're not going to have any chance of it locking up or binding or galling the threads in the head. It's a very expensive repair. We don't want to do that. And then this here is called dielectric grease. And what you're going to do is you're going to put a little bit of that inside the boot, and on the tip of the plug, I'll pass that around this way so you can see what this is. What it does is it prevents moisture from getting into that spark plug boot, and it promotes conductivity between the actual spark plug and the wire, so you have a constant, steady, high charge spark. So I'm not going to put any of those on this plug because I'm just going to reinstall it, and clearly my engine is not in working order, so it's not worth wasting supplies to do it on this. So when you reinstall your spark plug, you just want to thread it in by hand to make sure you're not going to cross thread the head at all, and just snug it up with your fingers. And what you need is a small torque wrench. I actually don't have one today, but what you need to do is you need to look up the torque spec for the spark plug, and it'll be probably Mitchell or Alldaddy. You can probably find it online. If you don't have a torque wrench, I suggest you just snug it up. Put your ratchet forward, snug it up, just give it a little extra, and it should be good. But once again, you do want to find that torque spec online. So, yeah, can anyone tell me, like, to recap what the difference was between the spark plug socket and just a regular spark plug, or a regular socket? Let's go with Matt.
The spark plug socket has a rubber.
Yeah, actually, I'm just going to pass that around so everyone can see it. So, a lot of spark plug sockets you'll find are missing the rubber boot, and then it's basically just a normal socket, a little deeper, a little bigger. So, did everyone get a chance to see that dielectric grease come on? There we go. Does anyone remember what that would be used for, or what it helps with? Oh, really?
Moisture.
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 And why do we want to repel moisture? Yeah, there you go. Is that what you say, Richard? Yeah. So, is there any other questions that we have?
So what happens if you use a non-spark plug socket over?
Well, you can use a non-spark plug socket, and it's not a big deal. You do have to be very careful because it doesn't cradle that the porcelain on the plug, and because of that, it has a tendency to wobble. And if you're untorquing a spark plug and it wobbles, and you just happen to hit it the right way, you can break that plug. So, Luke.
Two questions.
Yes.
When you're cradling that spark plug, does that also help with like emotional problems later on and stuff?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, especially if it's sensitive and a little heat up.
But my real question: what happens if you're talking about torque specs on putting back on? What if you don't tighten it enough?
If you don't tighten it enough, you're not going to have compression in that cylinder. I mean, it's going to leak down. So you'll probably notice it'll start to miss. So it'll be pretty is pretty quick. Yeah, Chad.
When you're using one of those quickie torque wrenches, how do you know when it's finished?
Okay. This is kind of be hard because I don't have a torque wrench with me, but I don't know my socket. But as you torque, you want to torque it nice and slow. And what happens when you reach your torque spec is it's going to click. And then you want to back off just a little bit and slowly click it again to make sure that it's torqued properly. Does that cover everything? Any other questions?
Ice batting concert.
I need my stomach.
So, for your sandwich, Matt, you had really good knowledge about what you were talking about. You were able to handle all the questions. You addressed the group very well. One criticism was from where I was sitting, you actually blocked the projector, and I think for most of the people sitting on this side, yeah. And you had phenomenal pacing. Like, you just solid through the whole thing. There was no mums, ahs, no little stuttering. And yeah.
That was about as close to a slow clap as anyone's gonna get. So.
I'm going to start a slow clap this year. It's going to happen.